Well, I think Jeff is a triple threat. He can throw it, he can run it, and he can beat you with his mind as well. He can get to the right play. He's an NFL player.
What's been the most exciting part for you now, being a part of the Big Ten and being a part of a day like today?
I think this just kind of builds the excitement for the season. Knowing that, even knowing that the championship game is played here, it's pretty cool. See the other coaches, the other players, to bring our players to this. It lets you know that football's right around the corner. It's time to get going.
When you think about what you just inherited with this program, you come into it, you're assessing everything you've got. What was one of your top priorities that you had coming into this year?
I was really pleasantly surprised when I got there, just sort of like the amount of good players that are there, the talent that's there, but more importantly, like the mindset. Year one for me has always been about get there, establish a foundation, make sure we have the right mindset, the right way of doing things, make sure that we have the right people doing, and throughout the spring, throughout the summer, I've just been so excited about our guys. They want to work, they want to win, they love Nebraska, and now we just have to help them get to where they want to be.
Speaking of Nebraska, what makes you an authentic Nebraskan? I mean, what do you have to do to indoctrinate yourself to this new culture?
Besides probably some of the food customs, the runza, the chili with cinnamon cinnamon rolls, which was new to me.
Oh, wow. It's both together?
Phenomenal, yes.
It's a new one.
It's phenomenal. But I think when you get to Nebraska and you go all across the state and you meet the people, what you recognize is that there's a lot of people there that, some of the best memories they have, they're hardworking, tough people, but their families came together to watch Nebraska football. They have all these great memories of these iconic moments, and it really puts a sense of responsibility on me as the head coach. I owe this to the people of the state to bring back more memories like that, to great wins and elite moments. And so I think because I feel that, I think people in Nebraska have really embraced us. You go to Nebraska because of the people. There's great people, and I want to honor them with the way that we play.
You mentioned that first year is a lot of just kind of making sure that the culture's in place, making sure your players know what you're all about, your staff is all about, also learning them. But at what point, do you realize that, how do you turn around the program? How do you start to then put everything in gear and get this thing on the right tracks?
Well, I think if you have the right people and they're doing the right things, so much of this is confidence. When I look back at, this is my fourth head coaching job, and how do you make that turn? You learn how to win, but at some point you have to believe that you're going to win. And over the last 5, 6, 7 years at Nebraska, so many close games, so many games lost in the fourth quarter. So for me, it's giving them a plan. Hey guys, this is how we're going to win games in the fourth quarter. We're going to train this way. We're going to practice this way. We're going to practice these situations so that it's not just words. Words are easy, but they have a plan of attack that should hopefully make them confident.
Part of starting to put that culture in place was taking your team to a WWE SmackDown, right, competition. So what was the thought process in getting the group together for that particular event?
We have a great player development guy, and he every week. One thing about Lincoln and Omaha, there's a ton of concerts that come through, great country acts, great rock bands, rap bands, and rap acts, and then WWE came through, and so Gus put it out to the team. I actually knew the producer, so he was an old Temple guy. He called me, so me, my buddy Sean Pad, we all went, and then the guys were able to come down. And it was kind of a really cool moment. They see me as coach, they see me, they see me blowing a whistle, yelling, running around the field, all those different things. See me in the meeting rooms, but I think for me to see them and them to see me out there just being a guy, having fun, watching a WWE match, it was really cool. And that's important to me that our guys. They're not just football players. I want them to be great students. I want them to give back to the community, but I also want them to have really cool experiences and enjoy. This should be the best time of their lives.
The Big Ten, new big media rights deal, a lot of attention on this conference, and arguably the best in the country. What are you most excited about with the teams you're going to be facing, the venues you're going to be playing in? Tell me about that.
I think there's iconic teams, iconic stadiums, tremendous experiences. USC and UCLA coming in, so you talk about great places to go. I just love the style of football in the Big Ten. It prepares players for the next level. I'm looking forward to the coaches. There's really, of all the places I've been, this is the most brotherhood amongst the coaching staff in terms of discussing things and tackling issues, because the Big Ten is a leader in college football, and we have to set the stage. And Commissioner Petitti has been awesome in that regard, and it's been really cool to be a part of something that's not just about your university, but part of the greater good.
Were there any coaches in particular that you were looking forward to most coming here, or just since you got hired at Nebraska to kind of pick their brain about certain things in the Big Ten?
Yeah, first of all, I'd say Ryan Day and I worked together way back when at Temple University. I've known him a long time, so to sit down with Ryan and visit with him a little bit, at the first meetings that we had, to sit down with James Franklin, who I went to Penn State, we competed against each other. It's been really good for me. So, and everyone's been open arms. Brett Bielema is great. I was a player at Penn State when Coach Schiano was the DB coach 100 years ago. So you have all these relationships. Coach Loxley's a guy that I have a lot of respect for and have known a long time. So it's great to see all those guys. I see a few here today, but I've had a chance to be around most of them.
Are you looking forward to playing against Penn State?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
A little pressure there.
Yeah, well, when I was at Temple, we played Penn State every year, and I got used to that. Had a chance. We beat them one year at home. It was a great win. But I love Penn State. My wife and I both graduated from there. We had such a great time there. So many family and friends and people that we care about. So I'm no stranger to being on the visitor sideline. I've done it before, and I look forward to doing it again.
When you think back to your playing career and your coaching career, what is your earliest memory of being involved in football?
Just overall,
yeah,
my
just
whole
when
life?
you were a kid, or was it like something that you just really stands out to you? Like this is my game.
Yeah, so I remember, and I would have probably been about 7 years old. I remember being in my grandfather's living room in 1982. Penn State was playing in the Sugar Bowl against Georgia. My grandparents lived in State College. I lived in New York City, but I went back in my grandparents' house watching the Sugar Bowl, seeing Greg Garrity made a diving catch down the left sideline to help win that game. And at that point, I knew I loved football, and especially I loved college football. And so started playing, got into coaching. I'll never forget my first game coaching, one of my first games coaching at Division III Albright College after I was done playing. That year I made $1,800, $1,800 for the entire year. But I wanted to see if I wanted to coach. And I think maybe it was Fairleigh Dickinson or someone like that. We beat them at the end of the game, and that joy I felt hugging my guys as we won at the final bell. I was like, this is what I was meant to do for the rest of my life.
I went to high school basketball camp at Albright College.
Did you really?
You kind of just triggered a memory.
Wow.
Yeah, very hot
Reading,
dorm
PA.
sleeping.
I love
That's
that.
right. That's right. When you think about the team this year, and obviously the transfer portal brought you a very talented quarterback with Jeff Sims. Give us the early scouting report on him and what you're expecting from him this season.
Well, I think Jeff is a triple threat. He can throw it, he can run it, and he can beat you with his mind as well. He can get to the right play. He's an NFL player. I think he's really under the radar, not being talked about a lot, which is probably good. Not a ton of expectation on him, but I know that our entire team is going to go out and fight for him because they believe in him. He's such a great leader, such a great teammate. But he can do a lot of things on the field, and so we're going to try to utilize every aspect of his game. He's a big difference maker for us.
When you think about traits that are important for a quarterback, which one specifically does he have?
Well, he has accuracy and he has competitiveness. We've all been blessed to see that quarterback documentary that Peyton Manning did.
Yeah.
You see, and I don't think people realize how smart and how mentally tough you have to be to play quarterback at that level. The pounding you have to take, and I've got a guy in Jeff Sims who in the spring I made him live. Most times you don't tackle college quarterbacks. They're tackling him out there. Never a complaint. He just loves to compete. And that competitive toughness and mental toughness, that will always raise all the boats around him. All the other guys will get to a different level.
With the landscape of college football changing so much, when you think about a quarterback and you mention these important traits, are there specific traits that are overvalued in a quarterback?
Yeah, I think you see a lot of guys who they just their arm talent. They can throw it really well. They can simulate off platform throws. They can roll to their left and throw it 80 yards, and it's a wow factor kind of on social media, on ESPN. Hey, look at this guy in his pro day, or look at this guy at his high school tournament. But this game's about moving your team. It's about getting to the right play, getting in the right protection, getting the ball to the right person versus the right coverage. It's such a cerebral game. It's really the only sport, when you think about it, that the best quarterback in the world a couple years ago was a 44-year-old man in Tom Brady. The best golfers aren't the older guys. There's no other sport except football, because it's such a combination of your brain and experience and your arm. And so for Jeff, what does that translate? Well, he's got a bunch of guys that just came from the NFL. We're coaching them the way we did there, and hopefully that benefits them.
When you think back to your time in the NFL, what did you miss the most when you were in the NFL about college football?
When you're in the NFL, you watch so much college football on Saturdays. I really missed it, and I missed, besides just the game day and the band, the student section, all those things, I really just missed the relationships. When I got fired, it was like a bunch of my former players were texting me, almost like eulogizing me, hey coach, you meant this in my life. Hey coach, you've done this for me. Hang in there. And you start looking back and you say, the NFL's awesome. it's just kind of transactional, right? Like you're there, your job. This is more about purpose. This is more about helping young people in their lives, watching them grow. I think my family, they missed college even more than me. They missed like recruiting and getting to know the players and getting to know the cheerleaders and getting to go be on campus. So coming back to Nebraska, getting back on campus, I feel a great sense of purpose that maybe I didn't feel before.
And in what way are you a better coach now than you were in the NFL?
Well, I think I learned a lot at Temple. I learned a lot at Baylor. But what I went through in Carolina, every place I'd been had a storybook ending. And to go to Carolina, have it not work out, eventually get fired, was probably good for me. It was probably good for me to go through that adversity, to know that like not everything ends this way, so that as I come to Nebraska, I have to fight, scratch, and claw to be successful. But probably even more importantly, like I learned a lot about myself going through the fire. I think there was 4 or 5 games where I had, the whole stadium chanting to fire me. And who you are in those moments is who you really are. And what a great example to set for my kids that like I was the same father when I got home after those games as I was when I was coach of the year. But the relationships I built with Frankie Lulu, with Christian McCaffrey, with Taylor Moton, those relationships, even through the fire, never throwing the players under the bus, never. I learned a lot about myself as a leader. So I just think I'm way more mentally tough maybe now. I think I now know who I can count on. And as I come to Nebraska, I'm really at peace in a special way.
It's great. Do you also recognize that your circle gets smaller too? The people you trust, the people you want around you?
Yeah, when I took this job, it was really important to me that I could hire who I wanted to hire. I hired a 24-year-old receiver coach. I've got like 13 of my former players, either in the weight room, recruiting, operations, or football. And it's because I wanted people there that truly believe in what we believe in, the way that we do it. We're a little non-traditional. We do things maybe a little differently at times. And it only works if people believe in it. So yeah, my circle's probably a little smaller. But what I didn't want to do is become cynical. Like I didn't want to be like, well, no, I want to be a person that tries to pour out into other people's lives. And I think going through that has maybe awoken me a little bit to like, you know what, you only have a short amount of time to impact people. So as you go to Nebraska, impact those players the best you can.
Can you realistically set, like this generation is like consumed on everything with social media and everything, you name it, Instagram. Can you actually sell the history and the traditions at Nebraska to this generation? Like talking about players that played in way back in the day. You look at, Tom Osborne, Tommy Frazier. Is that what's going to get these kids' juices going, or do you mention it at some point over the course of the season?
Yeah, I think it's really important that we teach them just in their lives, like, just for their own mental well-being, that we learn from the past, but we don't live in the past. We prepare for the future, but we don't live in the future. Like we live in the moment. And if you have that where you're learning from the past, you're preparing for the future, but you're enjoying and being in the moment, that's how you live a joyful life. And so what I want our guys to understand is they are here. They are the 2023 Nebraska Cornhuskers. They come from a long line of greatness, and they're a small snapshot. But there are also many teams that are going to come after them. And so there's a tremendous responsibility to honor the past and also build a great future for the future generations. And that you have to teach them that, because that bonds them together. Like we might come from different places, but if we all understand that we're part of this, something that's bigger than ourselves, from the past to the future, then when we have common purpose.